So welcome to Karen's Online Math Help. Last time we discussed how to solve one-step linear equations, and today we're going to discuss how to solve two-step linear equations. So a couple things to remember. We're going to be using inverse operations or opposite operations. So the ones that we're going to look at today are going to be addition and subtraction or division and multiplication. And the other super important thing to remember about equations is we're going to keep it balanced. So whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side to keep it equal. So our first example that we're going to look at is 3x minus 5 equals 16. Now remember, we're trying to solve for this x. We want to get the x alone. So one way you can think about it is you want to kind of undo what's the farthest away from that x first. So the first step in two-step equations is to get rid of anything being added or subtracted, and then you get rid of anything being multiplied or divided. So we have minus 5, so we want to do the opposite of subtracting 5, which is going to be add 5. Now remember, the second rule, whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. So if I add 5 here, I add 5 here, this cancels, so bring this 3x down, and then 16 plus 5 is 21. So now we just have one step left. We want to get rid of this 3. When it's next to the x like this, our variable, it's understood that you're multiplying the 3 by the x. So to get rid of multiplication, back to our inverses, we're going to divide it out. So divide this guy by 3, you have to divide this guy by 3. That cancels, you have x equals 7. Voila. All right, now this one's a little bit different than what we've looked at before. So for this one, we have 2/3 x plus 4 is 12. So we're gonna start off the same way. So we wanna undo any addition or subtraction first. So we want to get rid of this plus 4. So the opposite of adding 4 is to subtract 4. So subtract 4 from this side, keep it balanced. Subtract 4 from this side, these guys cancel. But I need to bring this whole term down. So I still have 2/3 x equals 12 minus 4 is 8. Now, what do we do when we have a fraction like this? So we've seen something like this, but this fraction is just another coefficient. So the way to undo this fraction, we could take the time to divide by 2, multiply by 3, or we can do it in one step by multiplying by something called the reciprocal. The reciprocal is basically you just flip the fraction. So the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. So I'm going to multiply each side by 3/2. Why does this work? Well, if you look, if you multiply 3/2 by 2/3, you multiply a fraction by a fraction, you multiply across the top, across the bottom. So 3 over 2, or 3 times 2 would be 6, over 2 times 3 is also 6. Well, 6 over 6, any number over itself, is just 1. So that cancels, and then you just have x. Now I have a whole number times a fraction, which can be a little bit tricky. So to simplify, we're just going to turn this guy into a fraction. So 8 is the same thing as 8 divided by 1. Now we can multiply across the top and get 24, across the bottom and get 2, and then 24 divided by 2, x is equal to 12. And our last one, we have division and we have addition. So we're going to undo our addition first. So if I'm adding 6, I want to subtract 6, keep it balanced, minus 6. Those cancel, bring down x divided by 4 equals 4 minus 6. Now careful here. So you have, these are both negative. So if they're both negative, you add the number parts and it's going to be negative. So think about it this way. If you have negative $4 in your bank account which is not good. And then you go and you buy a coffee at Starbucks, easily $6. You're not all of a sudden gonna have $2, right? So you were negative, now you're farther negative. So now you're -10. And then last step, you wanna get rid of this divided by 4. So to undo the divided by 4, you multiply this side by 4, you multiply this side by 4, these guys cancel, x is equal to, don't forget the negative sign, I'll get you every time, -40. Awesome. So our next video, we're going to be solving multi-step linear equations. We're going to throw in a couple new things, so stay tuned.